Okay, so now that I've finished reading Nebula Maker, I thought it'd be a perfect opportunity to go back and do a proper review of Star Maker, which Nebula Maker is an earlier draft of. So, Star Maker is, of course, if you know Stapleton, this is his magnum opus. This is his big one. If that front cover doesn't grab you, then I don't know what will. This was actually my first interaction with Stapleton. This was the first Stapleton I ever read. I read it back in 2009, and I was inspired to read it from a documentary I saw on television called The Martians and Us, which is the history of British science fiction. And Stapleton, he gets about 10 minutes in the documentary, and it is on YouTube if you want to watch. It's in episode 1, part 3, and episode 1, part 4. And Stapleton gets about 10 minutes in this documentary, and it's just a brief overview of his two key works, Star Maker and Last and First Man, and the influence he had on other science fiction writers. But the Star Maker material in it, because it does quote the Star Maker material and the ideas explored in it, very much did grab me, and I knew that I had to get a copy of that book. I'd never heard of the writer before, but I knew I needed to get a copy of it, and as soon as I saw it on the shelf, this one, with this cover, I was like, yes, this is it. I'm going to enjoy this book. And this cover is really... I've looked at a lot of different editions, and this, I think, has the best cover. It encapsulates the theme and the scope of the novel the best, I think. The story of the book does begin with a man standing on a hill, which, if we're being honest, is Stapleton himself, and this man projects his imagination and his speculations off into the cosmos to speculate on what is reality, what is the universe, is there a God, is there a star maker out there. Okay, so the book begins with the man on the hill, and it is really just a thought adventure, the whole book. It speculates on because you've got to remember this was written in the 1930s, so we still hadn't gone into space yet. We hadn't gone to the moon. There were no satellites. All our observations of space came from speculation and what we could see through a telescope. So he starts off by talking about the Earth's place among the stars, and then moving further off into space, finding other Earth-like planets. And a key thing Stapleton does in this work is his speculations on alternative routes of evolution, of how different life can and probably is on other planets, because the conditions wouldn't have been the same as they are here on Earth. So he does present various different ideas of alternative life forms and evolution routes. So that in itself is pretty astounding considering the time it was written in. But he doesn't just stop there, he keeps going. It shows you more worlds, explores different mentalities, mindsets, religious ideas, religious systems, political systems, different types of life forms. He doesn't just stop with terrestrial life forms, carbon-based life forms. He moves up the scale and talks about how stars themselves have their own form of consciousness, and nebula, which of course he explores in the earlier draft version of this work, Nebula Maker. Although what he lays down in here is very much dumbed down in here. The nebula are nowhere near as intelligent as they are in the early work, but nonetheless they are still living creatures. And he talks about the fabric, he speculates on what the fabric of the universe is, and how it is essentially just one giant hive mind, which all the living things in it basically have a mission in life to fulfill and realise and become a part of. But he keeps going. He keeps going and going, and yeah, he takes you off into the future, shows you the evolution of our universe, different galaxies. He shows you how the universe began, how it ends. Then he takes you out of the universe and he shows you all the other universes. So he starts speculating on the multiverse and the idea that potentially our universe is just one universe in a long stream of universes. It begins, then it ends, then another one begins, it ends, and then another one begins and it ends. And he also hints on the idea of there being parallel universes to our own. And then it goes even one step further and speculates on what a godlike entity would be like, or as he names it in this book, the Star Maker, and explores the Star Maker's mentality and reasoning for creating all these different universes and forms of life. And Stapleton really just said the Star Maker is just a scientist experimenting, trying to find the optimum state of existence. And our universe is just one in a very long stream of different experiments to try and find the perfect formula for the perfect existence, so to speak. So yeah, that's what is essentially just a under 300-page book, and it's astounding. It really is. You read this book and your brain, you can feel your mind expanding all the way through it, and even after finishing it, you're still thinking about it. And I have a real problem with how Stapleton is not that well known, and yet he's written one of the greatest single works of imaginary speculation that has ever been written. I mean, this book puts every religious text, it puts the Bible in its place. I mean, the fact that one man could generate a work like this with so much scope, with so many ideas, presenting so many different parallels, and so much speculation on things that science hadn't even proven to be correct yet. And indeed, one of the things the book actually proved to be right was the existence of Dyson spheres. But you have to look those up to find out what they are. But yeah, I mean, I don't follow religion myself, and certainly after reading this book, I think you might understand why. Because if one man can write something with this scope, which in many ways gives the Bible a run for its money, then you do start questioning the validity and the who laid down the text in all these religious texts. If one human being can do this, then surely it's not that hard for other human beings to do likewise. But on a more positive note, this is a testament to just how vast and brilliant, and why we should never stop reaching out beyond our immediate surroundings, because there is more out there. And while this can't be said to be completely accurate, or indeed scientific accurate, certainly since the original publication of this book, we found out much that actually contradicts and proves wrong what is in this book. But at the same time, there's much in this book that we still don't even have any answers for, which this book is still speculating on. And it's a very healthy work because of that, because it encourages open-mindedness, it encourages you to think big, not to pin down onto one specific belief system, just to constantly keep looking, keep projecting your speculation out there, and to keep stimulating new ideas, new innovation, new scientific inquiries. And I think Stapleton should be remembered more. I think it's a terrible tragedy that he isn't, and because I think this is generally an important work. And this is one of the most important things that's ever been written. And yeah, I can't really sum it up in a review, quite frankly. I've only actually read it once. I've ducked back into it from time to time to read different sections, but you're never going to finish it, really, even when you do finish it, because it's always good. It's one of those, there's more in there. You go back and read it again, you always find more, and it always stimulates more within yourself. So if you just want to read a book which is completely off the scale, like nothing you've read before, that will change you as a result of reading it, and Star Maker is definitely the book to read. And as ever, I'd recommend it to science fiction fans and Stapleton fans, and I just recommend it to anyone, quite frankly, because this is an important book. And when you can become this person on this hill and go off onto his odyssey, you're going to have an experience like you've never had one before.